Hello guys and welcome to another video. So I've done a lot of summon videos. I think it's two in a row and I don't really want to do that, but it does mean that I sometimes have to come up with something that isn't a summon video. And I thought this one would actually be quite good to do. I want to talk about some things that I'd like to see changed, or some things that could maybe use some work to bring them up to a point where maybe they're interesting again. And there's some things that maybe are a bit stale, and maybe there's some things that need changing because they're just not as good as they need to be. So let me just get to the list again, like I've done before. I've got a short list on the side and some notes with me. So I'm going to go through that list to sort of go through some of the things that could be worth changing. So let's start with the first thing. I think that we need potentially some easier ways to power up artifacts. I had it a bit on the back of my mind because we had no Guild War for a while because that was delayed. Now Guild War's going on, and I didn't really think about it as a big deal. But now that it's going and we're on our third war, I believe, and I've basically purchased one part of this. I already had some to begin with, and now I'm still gonna be struggling. And in the shop itself, can't remember where it is now. Yeah, here. I still need 2k. I'm assuming when I finish this war, I'll be able to get one more of these, but I'm generally not getting enough, right? So I feel like to power up the book and the axe, we need some more things for that. And I know that the Halloween event had some on offer to get, but it's just not enough. I feel like we need more ways to get it. Maybe make it a bit cheaper, make it feasible that over time you can upgrade all three, because currently I am upgrading these quite easily. There are good levels so far. Obviously, the further it goes, the harder it gets, but this was already leveled up before the changes, and now these are just stuck at 5, and I'm not seeing myself getting to these for a very long time. So that's the first thing. The second thing I wanted to talk about is improving runes. So one of the things that is a personal meme of mine is my rune cheat sheet, which I did back in August, I believe, or July actually, and I covered the runes that could be used for certain characters, and that list was basically done. Come about a month after, the characters were changed, the rune system was changed, and I had to basically scrap that list. And I left it for a while until I learned what the runes did, and slowly sort of worked on it. Every once in a while, when someone mentions it, I would go ahead and add a couple rune choices and do it that way. But as is at the moment, I do say it's difficult because the runes are generally not the best. And I want to give an example of a rune that is actually not bad. This is excluding like repulse and berserker combo, which you can see here me using. Generally, these runes are not bad. So this here is not too bad of a rune, right? Of course, with the random attributes here you can unlock over time, it will be considerably better than potentially than the blues. But here it increases by 8%, stacking 3 times, and that's for a maximum of 24%. This blue rune gives you 22% attack, right? Just by, you know, getting it to level 4, which is easy, right? So this rune itself already gives basically the same amount as the maxed out with using 3 ranges, and this goes up to 44%. So this rune shouldn't be in any conversations when comparing legendary runes, yellow runes, compared to blue runes. It shouldn't be part of the conversation, yet it is. So I feel like we don't need a nerf on the blue runes. I feel like it's safe to just leave them as they are. They are very good for players that are in the middle sort of section of the game, getting greens and blues. They can use energy gathering, they can use enchantment rune. They're both fine runes, the armor piercing or whatever. You have some selection, but when you get to the late game and you're looking, especially at potentially for the developers in terms of spending money on the game, these runes should be better. Some of these runes are abysmal. I mean, 65% of attack when some of these units basically would heal from that like 30,000 when they have quite high amount of HP. Grigo, for example, I have it on. He has 1.2 million HP. He's healing like what would that be? 65,000 whenever he casts his skill, which is not enough. And that's the rune, leveled up. That's how much it gives. It's just not worth it. I think it's not 60. No, it'd be 125, but even still, 100,000 is not that much. Especially when you get to the later stages of the campaign when enemies are hitting so strong that if your unit's already exposed enough to be hit, they'll probably die anyway, regardless if they cast or not. So Yeah, I will say that's a rune that potentially could use changing, and there's quite a few of them that could use changing. Now, I don't want to take too long on this, so we'll go through these quite quickly. These are just very sum up random things. Um, it'd be good to have some more campaign levels, or as well, if they're not going to change what they've done so far, um, you know, yeah, but as the campaign is right now, the enemies are far too strong for what they should be. So I'll take it here as an example. I will enter my campaign level, and we look at this one here, right? The enemies are all 11 star, not 12, whatever. Even then, that will be 3%. They're all level 303. I'm 291. The discrepancy shouldn't be double. So right now, it's really inflated, which I feel like it's not a good way of doing it. I feel like add extra levels, put some of those more inflated teams towards the 60, but allow people to progress a bit further, get more points, allow get stronger. I don't see why the teams have to go to something that is not actually feasible on paper. The teams get to the stage where they're maybe 3 times the your power of your team, potentially even more, and that's just artificially making things very very difficult, and sort of very unfairly because you can't get to that stage. Even if you get maxed out red runes, maxed equipment, max level, whatever, you're not going to get to that stage, and I feel like that's just a bit unfair. Or anyway, next point. Auction house feels bad. That's something I added, but someone did show me some things in it, so I don't feel like it's that bad. It's not unlocked at the moment. I didn't look at it much last time, but there are apparently a couple good things like pure wishes to get from there. So that's something that maybe I'd like to see some changes, maybe more variety, less of this currency, maybe more of the gems to actually allow free-to-play players to bid on more things. But currently, as it is, it does feel very not pay to win really because it's not exactly cheap or just easy. If you spend money, you get something amazing, but it's just not that good. And some of the prices are also very weird because sometimes it's more expensive than it is to buy it somewhere else in a game in a different shop, so it's a bit odd. Server merges, especially for the beta players. This obviously doesn't concern as many players as um, anything that's to do with global, like discussing like runes for example. But some of the servers are struggling, and that's something that we originally were told or at least hinted at that it would happen for the global release, which is why we also thought that the guild war being postponed initially, it was for that reason to sort out server merges before that happens. But although that's something that they said they're working on, it's not yet been implemented, and it's been a few months. And I feel like with servers that have 10 people on them, it's not the best, right? Because currently we are decently active. We don't have too much offline time. That's fine. Our server is actually quite good for that, and whatever. But as you see, even here we have people that have quit. That are still high up here, and this needs to change because this server essentially isn't getting any more people over time, right? Any person that quits, that's just a person that's gone, and eventually boils down to everyone being on one guild until you start being, out of 30, out of 50, and 6 months time, that's probably what will happen. There'll be one guild, and that one guild will be strong, but then it'll slowly start losing people as people lose interest or move on to other games, which is the same point, but it needs to happen. Things need to be sorted out, and I feel like in 6 months' time it'd be quite safe to merge global with the beta servers. I don't think it'll hurt too many people. That may be something that will happen down the line just to allow more longevity. And if they sort out the systems to actually allow for these mergers, I feel like that would actually be good for the game. So yeah, that's one other point I wanted to talk about. I also wanted to say that we need to have more clarity on on certain things. I remember one thing is one of the rune descriptions. I think, yeah, when under controlled. I'm assuming that's CC, but it's not specific. It's very bland in the writing, very basic. Certain things like that need more clarity. They have translation suggestion bit, sort of things that are wrong that people have submitted in the past. Those things have not yet been changed. I think Celia is on one of their skills, a male, and she looks generally quite female, and even in the story. But I think one of the skills is says him. I think I don't remember. I could be wrong. Enemies invisible? Nope. I don't know. It was some character has like wrong like gender whatever. So yeah, it's not a big deal. Generally, we know what things do, but it would be nice to have those translations actually done properly. The other thing is Guild War Crypt Counter. This is more of a personal thing. I'd love for Guild War Crypt Counter to actually be like to see what I've used in the crypt when I'm putting stuff in Blessing, because you can take units out and then put a new unit in and use them in the crypt and use one of them at a time to get the most points for your energy. So that's what I've been doing. It would be nice if there was some way to see who's already participated in the Guild War. So let me take these 4 stars out. I had to use them because I ran out of 5s. Anywho, moving on to the next point. I think we need to fix on the guild dungeon, basically points. Currently, when you do these bosses, the actual points you gain is considerably lower than actually doing these points here. And I feel like that needs to change, because if it descends, you're not as enticed to actually attack what you need to attack. Like, it feels very much like you lose for attacking the actual bosses. This needs to be fixed, because 1.8 thousand versus 3,000 for hitting one of these compared to this is not good. The other thing I wanted to talk about actually is allowing for the currency from Gisela and Brave event to actually continue into the next stage. I think it would be very nice if we could keep this currency into the next event and go ahead and actually save up to get a Celia. It would take 2 events, fair enough, but it would be, I think, quite good for the game. As is at the moment, I feel like I don't need any of these units. I could take a Milton, for example, but I don't really need any of these units, and what I would like, obviously, to slowly pick up something like the Celia, but they don't persist, and I feel like it'd be quite nice if they did. I'm very likely to just take food for whatever I'm working on, shadow, light, whatever. It would be nice if they actually persisted, so we still had a way to easily get LS units, even if it's long term. The other thing I wanted to talk about is maybe a more involved event. The Halloween event we just had was very basic. You basically had cards to collect, and I feel like it was a bit of a mistake for some servers, especially beta. I keep talking about inactivity because that's what happens in the beta servers, but you essentially shouldn't be relying on your teammates to actually give you these cards and ask for them and give it to them, because some guilds have 5 people in them that are actually daily playing, and that just means that those guilds actually miss out on these events to the full capacity, and therefore we shouldn't be involving guilds in these. If the developers have an understanding that the beta servers are struggling, they shouldn't be putting in things that basically showcase the inactivity that is present, which is obviously a big problem. So that needs to be looked at for sure. For the next one, make it individual, or make it where you have potential of using your guild, but it's not a requirement. Maybe it helps in some fashion, but not really anywhere where it would actually make a big impact. And pretty much the last things I want to talk about here is very much just throwaway points of things that I would like to see personally. These are not things that need to be addressed really quickly. Actually, no, there's one thing I missed completely, actually. What I wanted to talk about as well is gear, before I get to what I just said. Gear is something I want to talk about, so I want to get these. But I think we really need to work on this gear. I'm going to try and find someone with something leveled up. I don't think I do. But let's take Lionel here with his top, right? Fair enough. These need to be changed. I've done a post on the main Discord talking about this as a suggestion that I need to do. As you see here, he gets 25,000 or 30,000 health on top of it through this top, and that will increase with levels. But if you just take this base amount, even if it's 50,000, when he has 2 million health, it means nothing. And red gear, it means that you basically concentrate solely on the weapons. As you see here, I've leveled up his weapon, I've leveled up her weapon, I leveled up her weapon, I've leveled up his weapon. Other than that, I don't do anything else. The other equipment is pointless. This stuff is bad, it's crap. It gives you barely any stats for what you actually, compared to what you actually have. If you get an extra 10,000 attack, fair enough. You have 130,000 attack on your unit. 10k is nice, right? That's fair. But that's not the case. That's not the actual amount that you do get, and I feel like that's upsetting, because you get a total of, I mean, the attack is not too bad, and the crit, which is what I said, the weapons are good. But something like the boots giving you 940 when you have 15, 150,000, it means nothing. And that needs to change because I feel like gear really does need improvement. The only reason you level up the gear for the Rangers is because, well, the Rangers and Assassin is because you actually get the critical rate, which is very important, especially now how hard it is to actually get critical rate. And now I'm going to go to the throwaway points I mentioned. I would like to see a new realm of Tales. This aspect of the game is basically done, and I'm just never going back to it. It would be nice to actually get this coming soon to actually come through and provide something, because it's been like this since I started the game back in June. So that is something to hopefully see soon if they could. I'd also like to add a pity here to the Portal of Prey, an actual visual pity. I think it's kind of annoying that we don't actually have a pity here, because we had a pity on the seeds, but it'd be nice to have one here, even if it's 50,000 gems. Knowing that you're going to get something 100% if you have 50,000 is much better than going in completely blind. And last thing, more enemies and patterns and formations. Kira, that's something that Kira mentioned on a Discord chat. Essentially, it would be very nice to actually have different formations. If I go here to go to endless, you've probably seen this formation around. Probably not the best to look at endless for that, but if you go to your campaign, it's very likely you've seen some formations. I know I've seen this for sure. I've seen this as well. I don't remember too much of this, but probably have all of these. 100% I have all of these. It's just it needs changing to make it a bit more, a bit different, to provide a bit of variety, because we keep seeing the same stages at, like 13, 15, 18, whatever. People are always getting stuck at certain stages, and when you look at the actual formations, it's the same teams we're facing. It's just getting stuck on the same levels. So yeah. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. That was just basically me going through some things that I'd like to see changed and some gripes I have personally. But that's just, it's a tip of the iceberg. There's a lot of little other issues that need to be fixed, like when we had abyss bugs and stuff like that. Some of the communications was a bit lacking. I don't know, some rewards maybe I still haven't seen. So, yeah, well, that's a bit of a longer video, I think. But I'm going to leave it there. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. And it will be a summon video.